Good morning. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It's March 21st, 2025. Happy spring. It is just after 10 a.m. We are focusing on our third of 6 bills today. So we are just chugging right along. We have with us Tucker Anderson from Ledge Council with an amendment. My phone is doing weird for us to consider. Thank you very much. Would you like to say anything else? Would you like to take over?
I'm here to help you. This is a House bill.
Did I say house? Page 397? Sorry, it's been a day and it's only 10 o'clock. This is the emergency management and flood response. This Jim's bill, we asked Tucker to have an amendment to take the money out because we'll put whatever money we have in the big bill, which is typically what we do with these things. So Tucker, take it away, please.
Good morning, Tucker Anderson, Legislative Council. You have in front of you draft 1.2 of the committee's amendment to H397. There are 3 instances of amendment. They all do the same thing functionally, which is to remove sections of the report from the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs. The first instance of amendment removes Section 6 relating to the positions added to the Division of Emergency Management. The second instance of amendment moves Section 9 related to the Vermont Community Radio Program. And finally, the third instance of amendment removes the appropriations section from the government operations report.
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
No.
Yes.
Thank you for putting this together on short notice last evening. In committee, as you may be aware, we have a celebrity with us this morning. We are looking at the individual who happens to be in last place.
Okay.
Maybe it's a rope-a-dope. We don't have. There are Cinderella stories all over the place. Terrific Tucker is always coming back. And for those who are wondering, Jim gave me the nickname Terrific Tucker
Not Tucker.
years ago when I was a law clerk.
Really?
Betsy Ann Rask changed the nickname from Terrific Tucker to T squared.
Very exciting.
I appreciate that you picked Lipstone to go all the way.
Oh, yeah, I see Teresa is in first place.
Business. Business.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this bill is the emergency management bill that we heard the other day from Collapse and then Ways and Means. And this amendment, as Tucker explained, does take out a couple sections and then takes out the appropriations. So depending on where we end up with the box, we will put part of it back in the urban search and rescue, perhaps that fire apparatus or apparatus back in the budget. The bill still, I think, needs some adjustments, but it's one we're going to have to punch it to the Senate, unfortunately.
And we have information on what maybe needs to be looked at, so the Senate will have that information. Tom?
Yeah, can I ask why we're cutting out the language about the radio programming? So explain to me. So I haven't. Right.
So we take it all out.
Right.
And if we choose to put any of that back in, it would be in the big bill and that language would go in the big bill.
Okay. I mean, I just want to, I mean, I think everything in this bill, from an appropriation standpoint and the program, I just want to get lost so we don't forget what this program does. You know, for rural places that have this community radio programs, they were incredible in 23 and 24 in getting information out when other people couldn't get it.
Right.
So I would hate to see the notion of this program, as well as the other ones that are in this resiliency or the check response,
Right.
get lost in our bigger shuffle.
Right.
Because it's a really, again, we all know that the stress of being in the middle of a storm So having this system in place
Right.
is really important
Yeah.
to the communities that have been affected and that have access to them.
So the bill itself would go over, assuming we pass it out, would go over to the Senate, and it would probably go to Senate GovOps, because I think this started in House GovOps. And that would be a place for them to talk about it. So you've already been in touch with the chair of Senate
Talked to the
GovOps.
chair, I relayed the concerns from the management that were not addressed in House of and I said, sorry, but you are gonna have to deal with these, assuming it gets to your way, because we have. But Representative Stevens, that's a fully legitimate concern, and I believe within the box that we have here, so.
So anyway, this is typically what we do, is we take those sections out and put these things in the group. So that's,
Yeah.
just from a process standpoint, this, you'll get more familiar with this. Okay,
So I would move that House Appropriations adopt draft 1.2 as an amendment to H 397. Is this an amendment to the Ways and Means Amendment, or would this be an amendment to the amendment to the amendment?
so we talked about
This is
that.
drafted as an amendment to the report of the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs.
In military affairs.
Okay, so it's not as further amended to Ways and Means.
Correct. It is an amendment to the GovOps report.
Okay. That makes sense. Perfect.
You probably just want to keep that out.
She's sending another one.
That's right, we have 6 today, and this is number 3.
So what was that again, Jim?
Okay, so I would move that we adopt draft 1.2 committee amendment to H 397 to the report Committee on Government Operations. Is that okay?
Perfect. Representative Harrison.
Perfect, Jim. That's not the same as terrific, Tucker, though.
Don't want to go down that hole because people will start calling me by your nickname as representative.
Yeah. And they might shorten it in ways you don't like. So I think
Tim.
So this is our amendment, right?
Yes.
yes, draft 1.2 to H 397.
All right, I can fill in the rest.
Okay. Is there any further discussion about the amendment? Okay,
I got to do the.
well, you're not done voting yet. So if the clerk is ready, you can call the roll.
Almost. Representative Blumenthal,
Yes.
Representative Dickinson,
Yes.
Representative Harrison,
Yes.
Representative Consenska,
Yes.
Representative Roche.
Yes.
Representative Rowicki,
Yes.
Representative Nigro,
Yes.
Representative Squirrel, yes, Representative Stevens,
Yeah.
Representative Boney,
Yes.
Representative Shaw.
Yes.
700 on the amendment.
We need pause for like vote on this one. Thank you, Tucker. So is there a motion to approve H 397 as amended?
So moved.
Okay,
As amended by Ops and Military Affairs and further amended by Appropriations.
We're not worrying about the Ways and Means Amendment.
no,
If they don't amend it, it's.
right,
They're operating.
they're doing
Yeah.
other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we're all set.
Representative Bloomley,
Yes.
Representative Dickinson,
Yes.
Representative Harrison,
Yeah.
Representative Consenska,
Yes.
Representative LaRoche.
Yes.
Representative Rowicki,
Yes.
Representative Nigro,
Yes.
Representative Squirrel, yes, Representative Stevens.
Yeah.
Representative Boney,
Yes.
Representative Shy,
Yes.
0.
Excellent, and the reporter is here. And now we have passed out 3 bills. We have 6 bills to pass out today. Just, so you know, we're doing and Aaron has done yeoman's work to get all of them on our calendar today. Very quickly, at 11 o'clock, we're going to do the, Vermonters feeding Vermonters. Again, we're stripping the money out, pass the bill along. At 1 o'clock, we're gonna do 479, which is the act related to housing. Again, we're pulling the money out, pass the bill along. And then at 2:30, we have the OPR bill, which has, we should talk about that.
Yeah.
So the OPR bill, which is H 472 that we've heard, has the one position for $170,000. They are requesting, they do need the position. I checked with a lot of other people as well, and we heard the presentation yesterday. And then the question would be, do we fund it for only 1 year in general fund, and then it goes to be funded out of their special fund? Or do we put the special fund in deficit and fund it out of the deficit of the special fund?
What happens to that deficit?
It gets bigger.
Right, but then are we gonna see a bill, for BAA, like 7 years, like we saw for DLL, where people are gonna say, oh,
Right. Right, it would have to eventually get backfilled. I believe personally that we have, with the cuts and the things that we're doing, that we have sufficient in one-time general fund. Do it in one-time general fund, but I want the committee to weigh in on what they think about that.
or do you need an answer?
Trying to get this out.
You can.
Yeah, I think this is an example of unintended consequences. You know, the compacts are good. We all vote for them because we hope that they're forced to deal with whatever it is that they're regulating. But the downside is that we have lost revenue. And I don't think that was ever discussed adequately during the course of all of these compacts when they were introduced over the years. The only one that's been around a long time is the nursing one, which is the one where we really have the biggest need.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're getting, I mean, I've gone into medical situations and have found all these nurses who are from New York and someplace else and Chicago. I mean, it's not just nurses, but we do need these people and we do have to recognize, but we didn't anticipate the impact this would have on what is a very self-sustaining fee system.
Yes.
And so now we're in trouble. We're not in trouble. It's not in trouble.
No, what's happening,
We've got
and
an issue we've got to deal with.
right, and we actually did know, you've been on the committee long enough here, we've passed a number of packs through here,
Yes.
and they said it was going to be, eventually they would run into deficit, and we need the healthcare workers so desperately, that outweighed the risk on the other side, and now we're seeing what it is.
Yeah, and I think that as a result, there may have, I don't know, there's a registration fee or something that we could raise that. I mean, there's other things that we could do to maybe offset this as we look at this situation.
Right.
And, you wonder, do these people who come here as traveling nurses or traveling anybody do they have any skin in the game if they're not getting, they don't have to pay anything? And we have to maybe re-examine how that works.
Right.
But for now, we probably should make sure that at least they get back to zero.
Right. So, Tiff had a question and then Tom.
Well, maybe I'm misremembering the testimony, but I had also thought that part of the problem was that, there are many different, even within our own state, there are differences in certifications and degree programs and requirements for different types of therapists. And so sorting through, part of the challenge is, kind of streamlining that process, right? It's not just the compacts, I thought.
Well, that's the position they're talking about. And I actually, I agree that we need to do that for the psychology piece. I mean, I had a bill here for 8 years. For some ridiculous long amount of time, for licensed alcohol and drug counselors to be able to participate in Medicaid because they were not allowed to participate in Medicaid as a policy by the Department of Health. And yet they were in fact treating people who were being referred to them by crash, who couldn't afford it, who were on Medicaid, I mean, who were eligible for it. One of the results of that, these were independent LADCs. They wanted to keep it in the agencies. They wanted to fund programs only. Meanwhile, you had mental health counselors and other people who were treating licensed alcohol and drug issues. They had a lot of these people have dual certifications.
Yeah.
And so they had gotten their dual certification, and when they coded it to get paid by Medicaid, they were using a mental health code, and because they could get paid by Medicaid as an independent counselor rather than by the drug and alcohol code. And so it was very difficult for anyone to realize, or to document where the drug and alcohol treatment was going. And finally, once the Department of Health realized that this was going on over a period of time, they did agree to allow these people to participate in Medicaid, these LADCs. And it was, if you were in one group, you would be more likely to deal with that. I mean, you're all doing the same kind of counseling. It's not exactly the same, but it's in the same. And so that position is actually probably a valuable position, because she's right. There were 17 different groups that are doing this, and it just doesn't, we're not big enough to do that. Get someone to do it, right. Just like your nurses, you got nurses who are, advanced treatment nurses, you got LPNs, you got all kinds of things. So I actually think that is something that is an important piece for them to do. And it probably would have made it easier to go and recognize that these counselors that are all siloed, it really would have been more together to begin with.
Exactly.
So this position is to be almost like, is this the executive director of the mental health thing?
Yeah.
Right, so this is, and again, this is the one-time, to your point, I mean, there's so many unintended consequences or unknown things, and we addressed that almost immediately this year with the $450,000 charge or whatever it was to the sheriffs, about video storage, because, it was, maybe anticipated that they would have to do it. Nobody anticipated a year later that the cost would be $450,000 for video storage. And this is, this is a wide parallel, and this one is just like to see how, if the program was successful enough, or if the needs were so successful that they needed an executive director, I think it's a growth of the need in that,
Well, there's.
and how we fund it is up to, a larger conversation, but I do agree with them that a position like this is going to help them, monitor this process.
So I would propose that the bill says 170,000 for 1 year from the general fund, and then it would move over to the special fund. And to me, that seems like the fiscally appropriate thing to do. It's, in the scheme of what we're talking about, it's not a lot. We are okay on our budget for that. It's not, to me, this isn't the same thing as adding position like we add positions in other places. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, what are you offering to reduce?
We'll see that when we get to, have you talked to Mike Marcotte yet?
Oh.
Yeah. So, are people okay with doing that?
Yes.
Okay, so then let's vote this out.
Why not?
It just happened to have this paper.
Do you know if it's, is it posted? It was posted earlier.
Yeah. Let's change the time. Yeah, thanks. We're gonna need that this afternoon for other things.
Where are we again now?
This is H 472.
Okay, you got my email. Thank you.
And it's, the bill is introduced. Let me just see if there's. I'm looking at the, yeah, the, it means just that the bill is introduced.
No amendments?
That's probably.
It was introduced by Government Ops and Military Affairs.
Yeah, here we go.
But you didn't amend it, right?
I don't see an amendment from Ways and Means. I can, let me just check Ways and Means to make absolutely sure, but we didn't get anything from Ways and Means.
We got the fiscal note
Yeah,
introduced.
Okay, but, are we going to amend it, but it'll be in the budget? or
no, we're gonna just leave it in the bill. Leave it in the bill.
So we're not
Just check it
amending
out.
either.
We're not.
And we're not amending either. I'm just checking. No, but see the
And we got
the
some,
House Committee on Ways and Means
Ways and
report is this one as introduced by GovOps, so they didn't change it. So I'd entertain a motion to support Bill H 472 as introduced by the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs.
some,
Okay. Is there any further discussion about this? Okay, if not,
Who's the reporter on this, by the way?
this will be Mike Marucci. This is the Secretary of State.
Okay, everyone ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Representative Lilly,
Yes.
Representative Dickinson,
Yes,
Representative Harrison,
Yes.
Representative Kaczynska,
yes.
Representative LaRoche.
Yes.
Representative Lewicki.
Yes.
Representative Nigro,
Yeah, Bill.
President Squirrel, yes. Representative Stevens,
Yes.
Representative Giacomoni,
Yes.
and Representative Shaw.
Yes.
10-0.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So we're done, we've done 4 out of 6 bills already, and it's not even 10:30. Jim, do you have a question?
Okay, so on the.
Yeah.
Bill. The thought to advance that thing, for the
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah,
okay, do we need a commitment?
it's on the, read the agenda.
No, okay,
It's all set. There,
okay.
Michael O'Grady is coming in with that amendment. We have Aaron has organized everything. We have that coming and Cameron Wood is doing the amendment on housing and he's coming at 1:00. So with the passing of these amendments and the bills, we aren't making the money decisions. We're just taking the money out of the bills, moving the bills along, and then we have a discussion about that. So it'll be nice to have those all done so that we'll then be able to more easily have all those discussions about those pieces.
Right,
That makes
keep
sense?
everybody on the edge of their seats, so.
That's right. That's how we work it, right? So, so that's what we've got. So when I stop talking, we'll break until 11. Some of you need to go talk to other people to find out about things that are in the budget, Jim. And I know you're not the only one. And if there are other pieces that people need to explain to each other, we still have, we have a sheet, we have 2 different sheets, amendments. This would be a great time to have those conversations. And then we will resume right at 11 to talk